Hey, what is going on YouTube? Hey, Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first look for the Jäger, the newest campaign ship to come to World of Warships Legends. And guys, this is a Tier 7 Torpedo Nightmare. This is basically a Shimakaze at Tier 7. And before everyone starts going to the comments, all my battleship mains, let's just say that I think this ship is very balanced because basically this is a Tier 3 hull in Tier 7, but the amount of torpedoes makes this thing an admirable foe if you can put it in the right spots. It's not very fast. It does have engine boost. You can see the heels there, and it actually gets a torpedo reload booster. So if you can get yourself set up, such as we do very late in this game, you can absolutely make battleship mains cry. However, if you want to counter this thing, number one, it has no AA, it has low health, and this is actually a build with Sims on it, so it's got more health in this particular video than it does normally. And also, it doesn't have the best guns, as well as the maneuverability, or I guess the propulsion being a little bit worse as we kind of figure out in this game. I'm not going to be honest, this is not the absolute most exciting game, but with the obnoxiousness that is update day, you guys can only imagine how difficult it was to get a game. I saw a few of you guys out there, and a few of you guys recognize me. So fun games, though. My initial impressions is that this ship is a lot of fun, but it's kind of useless. And what we mean by that, and you may be saying, well, you just said the torpedoes are good, and they are. However, they don't do that much damage. You do get a lot of them, and they do reload very quickly, especially with the build we are running. But I want a little more versatility out of my destroyer than just going to the nearest flank, you know, abusing the concealment mechanics in this game and just torpedoing battleships on the back line. That can be a successful strategy, and I know I see a lot of Shima players do it. But unfortunately, if anyone kind of has, especially in a domination game mode, if you don't get those capture points or hang around those capture points, then you're not going to be winning very many games. And I just found myself, you know, not having the most utility with anything other than spamming torpedoes. But here's our first torpedo launch, and honestly, my torpedo accuracy, as you guys know, and probably a lot of yours, should be very low in this boat, considering I think I have a 55-second reload on these torps. Anytime there is a ship in your range, you should be spamming them. Not only that, we saw a few torpedoes go by us. I think it was 3 sets of 3, so we're only assuming that, you know, has to be the Akatsuki. But he is not in the cap, and we have made our way into the cap, so we're going to go ahead and throw our first set. You can kind of see, I thought this Bismarck was going to turn out, and actually, he kind of does the exact opposite. He turns back in. I have no idea why he straightened out or why he's turning broadside to all of our ships, but I thought he was just going to sit there. So utilizing, you know, the 4 sets is going to be key in trying to get those floods. You're not going to be dev striking things. I actually hit an Akizuki or a Kitakaze earlier today and didn't get a dev strike with 3 torpedoes. But let's talk a little bit about strategy here in the meantime. You can see this Akatsuki popped up. And if I'm being honest, if I'm in any other destroyer, I'm probably opening up my guns here. But because our 2 battleships are kind of playing rather passive, we're not going to go ahead and give away our concealment, especially because a Bismarck was behind that island. You also notice we popped the torpedo reload booster, which is a little bit toxic. We threw 2 sets ahead, and we did that on purpose to hit the Amagi there. We saw that the Bismarck was going behind the island. We actually get 2 hits on the Amagi there. No floods, but the second set, or the 2 after sets, hit the Bismarck there, and we actually connect another 2 with another 2 floods. So you're definitely going to want to be staggering your torpedoes if you can, you know, catch a battleship sailing in a straight line or, you know, out of position. And what we mean by that is, let's say you launch 1 or 2 sets, you catch a flood, you launch the second or third set, or third or fourth, you catch that permanent flood, and they are just in a lot of trouble. We actually have gotten 1 kill like that earlier and another liquidator on another ship earlier today. So this thing, like I said, if you can put it in the right spots, it will be very dangerous. But it's very balanced, right? If you are in another destroyer or going against this thing, just go after it and shoot it. It doesn't have good guns. It only has 3 guns, and they are 150 millimeters, but they don't do anything. I've shot this against broadside light cruisers, you know, heavy German destroyers, and the guns are just pitiful. On top of that, they're not that accurate. Now, you will get a few fires. We have gotten a few as we connect another set of torpedoes here on this Scharnhorst, who was pushing aggressively in. And this is honestly going to be probably the best thing for you is aggressive battleships. they are just going to sail into the mass of your torpedoes. But you'll notice we already have 6 torpedo hits, and we barely just ticked our first epic reload modification. So you're not going to be racking up the damage unless you can really pull just a massive amount of hits or catch those floods or potentially catch a fire. But without smoke, you're just in, yeah, I don't fire my guns except for one time in this game, and it's probably one of the better games I've had. Now, I did have a higher XP game, but it was just honestly super boring, and I'm assuming that's how this first week of the update is going to go. But getting back to the strategy here, I was just kind of trying to be a team player and defend from this Akatsuki. Now, the Akatsuki is probably a ship I could potentially take, in a gunfight. But even then, you don't really want to get caught in too many gunfights, especially with team focus fire. So kiting away, sailing away in this situation is probably the better play. Now, I was pushing rather aggressively. We saw that Akat was last spotted in our concealment ring, but it actually looks like he went back into the cap there. You can see that Scharnhorst was killed, I believe, and there is the Akatsuki. So just trying to pay attention, and we are actually running a build without twist and track. Or perceptive rather, and I went back and forth with a few builds this morning, but I honestly found that perceptive sometimes hurts you because it tells enemies that you're located, and in a situation like this where you just kind of out here, the Bismarck has no idea that we're out here. Now, I will say that has hurt me a few times when there have been other destroyers in the region, and we would have known where this Akatsuki was as we connect another 2, I think it's 3, 4, yeah, so 4 torpedo hits on a Bismarck with like 25,000 health, and we still didn't get the kill. So the max damage, I think, of these torpedoes is 7,000, and of course we always go over the stats in Commander Guide at the end. But yeah, you're just basically want to just keep plopping these things out, and here I'm actually throwing them on the off chance that we do catch the Akatsuki. And I kind of look at the scoreboard and I'm like, well, this is just a classic update day game. But we do have an Amagi back here, and we still have another torpedo reload boost. So we want to get maximum fun. We want to dish out maximum fun for this Amagi. So with those 6 torpedoes connecting, or 4 rather, we have 10 total torpedo hits for an average of 5,000 per hit, with only 5 of those being floods. So you can see, despite my clickbait title or whatever, I just know people are not going to watch the video and complain, and I'm literally going to timestamp this point in the video just to prove a point. Despite us, I don't think we were ever spotted once, but despite us not being spotted and connecting all these torpedoes, we still only have a limited amount of damage. But here is probably one of the more toxic events in the game, and yeah, if you get caught out on a flank like this without much support, then yeah, you're probably gonna have a bad day. There is 12 torpedoes away. We pop the reload booster, and there is another 12. Now, I will say that this Amagi, his team obviously failed him, but he was kind of backlining. So just a message to the backlining battleships: if you support your team and push forward, that Akatsuki could have spotted me, the Bismarck could have secondaried me. There's always counters to this, because sometimes the battleship players will see this and just be like, oh yeah, you destroyer players. Well, he didn't really support anyone through most of this game, but there is 4 torpedoes connected for a total of 14. He actually takes a salvo from somebody else, I believe, which probably hit a Citadel, which probably honestly robbed us of our dev strike, but we actually connect 2 more torpedoes and get the finishing kill. So kind of, like I said, kind of a boring game. We will try and get a toxic game with 20 or more torpedo hits, and of course a high caliber for the viewership. But I just wanted to give you guys a first look, mainly because I'm tired of playing this thing this morning with the absolute just obnoxious teammates. I might even put up a little video of just the stupidity that I've seen. But yeah, here's actually, I sped up the game for you guys just so you guys don't have to see me sailing, but here's the first time we fire our main batteries throughout this entire game. So if you can utilize concealment, get caps, defend them, and then, when the enemies, after you get the cap and they kind of are forced to go into them, that's when you set them up for those torpedo strikes. But I just don't think this boat is going to be as toxic, obviously, as my clickbait were, but as many of the battleships may think it will be. So a 22, 25 XP total, not that much XP. 16 torpedo hits though for 80,000 damage. So yeah, pretty low on the total or overall damage there, but that is the Jäger. And let's go ahead and review her stats, modifications, and commander guide. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at those modifications. Aiming system mod 1. Propulsion in slot 2, concealment in slot 3, and the legendary torpedo reload mod there in slot 4. This is just the build I was running. You could probably play around with it a little bit, but I found this to be a little bit more effective than most others. Survivability, you saw it on screen in game, 18,560, and that is, of course, with William Sims as an inspiration. That's just kind of the pan-European build I was running. I didn't really change it. The guns are pretty bad, as we mentioned, 3x1 150s. Yeah, that just you can only use them in really emergencies. Here's the piece de resistance, though, the Torpedoes 4x3 for a total of 12 with a 55-second reload with our build, a max range there of 12 kilometers, a 90 knot speed, and as we mentioned in game, 7,748 max damage. AA defense is basically 2 guys with a machine gun on the boat. It's pretty abysmal, and your maneuverability, it says it's pretty good, but I found it to be not as good as some others, or maybe that's just how, you know, the in-game feel felt, but it wasn't the most maneuverable. Concealment is pretty good, and we're not running a full concealment build, so I'm sure you can get that down to like 4.9 or something. But yeah, 5.3 with 1 inspiration, and look at me now, there is pretty good. Here's the armor viewer, your destroyer made of aluminum foil. So yeah, and there of course is the overview. I always like looking at this. It's just this is just one of the aesthetically pleasing things that Wargaming does do is, yeah, hidden, fast torpedoes, and heal consumable. In 1917, Austria-Hungary began working on a project to build a destroyer leader, and then you can read the rest of it if you want. But basically, it is a tier 3 or 4, maybe even 5 at tier 7 because of those torpedoes. So World War I era torpedo boat, basically, which it's like the Kitakaze or the Kitakame on PC. It's like a tier 4 hull with like 40 Japanese torpedoes, except you get destroyer concealment, and I don't know if the Kitakame has a citadel, but regardless. The final thing, and this is probably going to be where the ship is just made better, is your build. We are running Stig Hansen Eriksson with subsurface venture there. Look at me now. Now, you could probably switch it and get less off your guns, but I never, like I saw you in the game, I never used my guns once. So this is a full torpedo build. We switched to perceptive and we played a few games with it, but honestly, the reload is just, I don't know, it's better. So that is the build we're running, of course, Unstoppable there with, like we mentioned, William Sims and Eric Bay as inspirations. You could probably switch that out for, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Yeah, Swirsky there to get you more concealment, but I don't know, maybe Fishy for faster torpedo speed or more damage. I don't know, something. But yeah, she's a pan-European tier 7, a fun little boat, but I don't think she's that useful in my personal opinion. But the difference there is you saw is about 7 seconds, 55 seconds to 62 seconds there with Perceptive. So not that much of a difference. Like I said, Perceptive is a very valuable perk, but honestly, with the player base, you don't, unless you're going against someone with 12 IQ points, the average player has less than 1, so you'll be all right managing out there without Perceptive, but it is always a good idea to pick that up. But I hope you guys enjoyed that review. Just a quick little first look on the Jäger here, the newest campaign to come to World of Warships Legends. I love you guys. Have a great day. AA Run out. Peace.